Hello everyone and welcome back to Climate Hangouts. My name's James and we are here outside the United Nations Climate Change Negotiation venue in Le Bourget, Paris. Here we are with the New Zealand flag and I am joined by Ben, one of the policy wonks on the New Zealand Youth Delegation. Ben, nice to have you with us. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm bloody excited. I mean, it's a beautiful day here in Paris. It's my first day here at the COP. I've been catching up with the team and all the work that's been going on so far. I'm just hoping that we can get some real progress starting today.
Absolutely. Now, you've been working and studying in the climate change space for quite a while, Ben. Tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing.
Yeah, well, at the moment I'm studying my PhD at the University of Oxford. I'm working on transnational climate change governance. So all the really exciting stuff that's been happening around the world, both inside but also outside of this space. So cities, businesses, all coming together to make progress from the bottom up. I've also been following the negotiations quite a lot this year. In kind of the middle of this year I was in New York taking part in the negotiations for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the Sustainable Development Goals, where climate change was being linked into that. And then more recently I was in Bonn for the previous negotiation session that set everything up for Paris. And now I'm happy to be here and join for the big finale.
Fantastic. Now you mentioned you were observing what was happening in Bonn a few months ago, because of course the agreement that's being negotiated here right now in Paris has been formed over a process of several years. Can you give us a little bit more detail about what's gone into it and what's led us to this moment?
Yeah, I mean, we've been thinking about Paris for a long time now. Back in Durban in 2011, all the parties agreed that in 2015 they were going to make an agreement to come into force for 2020. And now we're here, it's 2015, it's time to get that agreement. Negotiations have been happening kind of all year. In January they were meeting in Geneva. They had about an 80-page document. It's been slowly cut down throughout the year. In the last session where I was in Bonn, they cut it right down to 13 pages and people think they went too far, and it then bounced back up to over 50 pages. The latest texts that come out this morning were down to about 48 pages. It needs to get down even further, and that's the task for the next few days.
Okay, the negotiators, we hear, have been up most of the night working out the final details for the text. Ben, what are some of the key issues they're looking at right now here behind us?
I mean, well, to be honest, all the issues are key. I mean, this is just a really, really important issue. One of them that's been having a lot of discussion recently is about the long-term goal. What is the overarching objective for this agreement? And part of that is about a temperature goal. What can we possibly limit global warming to in order to minimize the negative consequences? For a long time we've been working towards the 2-degree goal. A lot of countries have. A lot of people have heard about that, but there's always also been on the table an idea for a more ambitious goal of 1.5 degrees. And there's been negotiations, as you said, overnight, and just recently a few more important countries, including Germany, have come on board to support that 1.5 goal. And I think it's really important that New Zealand gets on board with that as well, because that's really important for our neighbours and our brothers and sisters in the Pacific.
That's right, and of course we spoke to Kaya from the Aotearoa Youth Leadership Institute yesterday about the importance of that more ambitious target for our neighbours in the Pacific. Thinking in a more New Zealand context now, are there any key issues facing the New Zealand negotiating team?
For the New Zealand negotiation team, they're going to be coming under a lot of pressure, I guess, from the Pacific to get on board with those more ambitious goals. One issue that's facing all countries like New Zealand, United States, Australia, Europe is financing.
Okay.
Both before 2020, when this agreement comes into effect, there's already been a pledge to deliver $100 billion per year by 2020 in financing to developing countries. That money is yet to appear, so there's going to be pressure on for countries like New Zealand to step up to the mark with the support they're providing. But also after 2020, there's a lot of debate about where that money is going to come from, who's going to provide, and someone really needs to step forward and take the lead on this, I think.
Yeah, well, you've raised a really interesting point there. At present, where will the money come from, and more importantly, where is it going to go?
So where's it going to go? It has to cover a range of issues. One is helping developing countries with their mitigation efforts, helping them finance the technology they need to transition to clean, renewable energy. but some of the money also has to go to adaptation, adapting to the effects of climate change, which are already occurring. And there's another part of that which is loss and damage, and that is helping finance the countries that have already suffered huge financial consequences because of climate change. And so where's that money going to come from, as you said? Well, part of that has to come from, who has been historically responsible, who has emitted the emissions into the atmosphere that has fundamentally changed our climate. There has to be someone be held responsible for that, but also there's the reality of just who has the money. At the end of the day, we have to be practical too. So all the countries that have the capacity to step up to the plate and deliver financing for those who really need to do it.
And as a first world developed nation, that of course does include New Zealand.
Absolutely.
Within this climate financing puzzle. Now, we're coming to the end of the first week of negotiations. What have we got to look forward to over the next few days? And what will be happening next week, Ben?
Well, the next few days are going to be really, really intense. Basically, they've been working on a few revisions of the text now. As I said, they're down to around 48 pages. It needs to get down to even less than that. And on Saturday is when we're scheduled to have a new text dropped by the French presidency of COP21. And then after that, on Monday, the minister's going to come in and things are going to really get serious for the last week. And a lot of people thought that Saturday was too ambitious, we weren't going to get a text, but from what we understand, the facilitators have been really pushing countries along. So it's looking like we will get that, but whether they'll go too fast and they might miss something out, we're not sure. But we just have to be ready for Saturday morning and when the ministers come in, and that's when no one really knows what's going to happen. But we need to be doing our best to make sure we get an ambitious outcome.
And we'll be here to track all of those policy developments and keep you in the loop back home in New Zealand. We've just heard from Ben, the policy wonk from the New Zealand Youth Delegation. Thanks again for tuning in to Climate Hangouts, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.